The broken chains, the hook. The alien girl knelt on the cold floor, her wrists bound by heavy chains that cut into her skin. The hall around her was dark and full of whispers. Dozens of eyes watched her, but none dared to help. She belonged to the master, the monster that ruled this place with fear and cruelty. The beast sat on his throne, a massive figure of muscle and shadow. His eyes glowed like burning coals, and his voice rumbled like thunder whenever he spoke. He had taken her when she was still young, and for years she had known only pain, commands, and punishment. Every day felt the same. She worked, she obeyed, and she suffered. The girl's spirit was almost broken, but deep inside, a small spark of hope still survived. She dreamed of freedom, even though she knew it was impossible. The guards dragged her forward and forced her to kneel at the foot of the throne. The beast laughed, the sound echoing through the chamber. "You are mine," he said. "You will always be mine." The crowd of alien servants stayed silent. They feared the beast too much to speak. To them, she was only a slave, nothing more. But that night was different. That night, a stranger had entered the city. The door at the far end of the hall creaked open. All eyes turned as a figure walked inside. He was not one of them. He was different. His skin, his eyes, his walk-it was clear. He was human. Whispers spread through the crowd. A human? Here? Impossible. The alien girl raised her head for the first time in weeks. She looked at him, confused and curious. She had heard stories of humans before, stories of a species too stubborn to bow, too wild to be controlled. But she had never seen one with her own eyes. The human walked with steady steps. His clothes were torn from travel, but his stance was strong. His gaze locked on the throne, not on the slaves, not on the guards, but directly at the beast. The monster leaned forward, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "A human?" he mocked. "You dare to walk into my hall?" The human did not bow. He did not tremble. He simply stood there, silent, his eyes sharp like steel. The alien girl felt her heart race. She wanted to scream for him to leave, to run away before it was too late. No one survived defying the beast. No one. The guard stepped forward, there, weapons raised, but the human did not move. His voice finally broke the silence. "Let her go," the crowd gasped. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat. He had said it words no one had ever dared to speak. The beast laughed, the sound deep and cruel. "She is mine. A human has no power here. You are weak. You are nothing." But the human's voice was steady, unshaken. "Then prove it." The hall went silent. The air itself seemed to freeze. The alien girl's chains rattled as she trembled. This man, this stranger, was calling out the beast in front of everyone. The monster rose from his throne, his massive form towering over all. His claws scraped the stone floor, sparks flying. The ground shook with each step he took. The alien girl closed her eyes. She knew what would come next. The beast would tear this human apart. That was what always happened. Anyone who resisted was crushed. And yet, when she opened her eyes again, the human was still standing tall. His hands were clenched, his jaw set, his eyes burning with something she had not seen in years. Defiance. Something inside her stirred. Something she thought was long gone. Hope. For the first time in her life as a slave, she wondered, could the beast be defeated? Could freedom be real? The crowd held its breath. The beast growled, a low sound that promised violence. The human didn't flinch. The alien girl's chains felt lighter in that moment, even though they still cut into her wrists. She didn't know this man. She didn't know his name, but she felt something she had never felt before she felt that. Maybe, just maybe, she was not alone anymore. The monster raised his claw, pointing it at the human. "You will regret this, mortal." The human's lips curved into the faintest smile. "We'll see." The hall was silent, the air heavy with tension. Everyone knew what was coming. A storm was about to break. And for the first time, the alien girl believed her chains might finally shatter. The human's defiance. Hall shook with silence after the human's words. No one had ever spoken to the beast like that. Not a guard, not a servant, not even a rival. The alien girl's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the man who dared to do the impossible. The beast leaned back, then laughed. His laugh was not the sound of humor, it was the sound of cruelty. "You think you can order me? You are nothing, human. You are weak flesh standing in front of a god." The human's voice was calm, steady, almost too quiet for such a place. "You are no god. You are just a tyrant who hides behind chains and fear." The crowd gasped. Some looked away in terror. They knew such words meant death, yet the human did not stop. He took one step closer, his boots echoing against the stone floor. The alien girl's eyes widened. Why does he not run? Why does he stand? Here, the beast's claws tightened around the armrest of his throne, carving deep cracks into the stone. His growl rolled through the chamber like thunder. "You dare to insult me in my own hall? Guards, kill him." The guards moved instantly. 4 of them stepped forward, tall and armed with jagged spears. Their armor gleamed with cruel spikes. They surrounded the human, circling him like predators. The alien girl's chains rattled as she tried to shift, fear filling her chest. She wanted to shout at him to escape, but the human did not even blink. His hands were empty, but his stance was steady. The first guard lunged, spear thrust forward. In a blink, the human sidestepped and slammed his elbow into the guard's throat. The alien collapsed, choking for air. The crowd gasped louder now. The second guard came from behind, swinging his spear like a blade. The human ducked, grabbed the shaft, and yanked hard. The guard lost balance, crashing onto the floor. The alien girl's lips parted in shock. He fights without fear, like he has done this before. The third and fourth guards attacked together, one high, one low. The human moved fast, his body sharp with precision. He kicked the lower guard in the knee, snapping it backward with a sickening crack. Then he twisted away, slamming the last guard's head into the stone pillar. 4 guards defeated in moments. The chamber filled with whispers, fear, and something else. The beast's burning eyes narrowed. His growl deepened. So the human has claws. Impressive, but foolish. The alien girl's heart pounded. She could not understand. Why? Why would a human fight for her? He didn't know her name. He didn't know her pain. Yet he risked everything against a monster that ruled with terror. The human turned his gaze toward her for the first time. Their eyes met. And in that single look, she understood. He didn't see a slave. He didn't see a broken alien. He saw a person. Someone worth fighting for. Her breath shook as tears burned in her eyes. The beast rose from his throne, towering, higher than any creature in the hall. His muscles rippled. His claws glowed with unnatural fire. The ground trembled under his steps as he descended toward the human. "You dare stand against me for her? She is worthless." The beast roared, pointing a claw at the girl. The human's voice cut through the air like a blade. "No one is worthless." The words echoed, stronger than any weapon. The hall fell silent. Even the crowd of broken slaves looked up, their eyes wide. The alien girl's chains shook as her body trembled, not from fear this time, but from something new. Something dangerous. Hope. The beast roared, the sound shaking dust from the ceiling. He lifted his massive claw, sharp enough to cut steel. His shadow swallowed the human in darkness, but the human did not step back. He clenched his fists, lifted his head, and met the beast's glowing eyes without fear. The alien girl gasped, her voice breaking free before she could stop herself. "Please, don't." The human did not turn to her. He only whispered loud enough for all to hear. "I came here for this." The beast lunged, his claw crashing down like a hammer. The ground cracked, stone flying into the air. Dust filled the chamber, blinding all eyes. The crowd shouted in panic, some fleeing, others frozen. When the dust began to clear, the alien girl searched desperately through the haze. Her heart pounded, her chains rattling as she pulled against them. And then she saw him. The human still stood. His arm was bleeding, his clothes torn, but he was alive. He had caught the beast's strike, his body straining, his legs digging into the cracked stone floor. He held back the monstrous claw. The hall went silent. Every eye widened. Every breath froze. The alien girl's lips trembled as she whispered, almost to herself, "He is not like the others. He is not afraid." "They..." Beast snarled, fury burning in his voice. "You think you can defy me, human? You think you can take what is mine?" The human's teeth clenched, his eyes locked on the monster's. His reply was clear, sharp, unshaken. "I don't think... I know." The chamber erupted with chaos as the monster roared, pulling his arm back for another strike. But something had already changed. The alien girl's chains still held her down. Yet in her heart, she felt something stronger than iron had already broken. She was no longer just a slave. She was a witness to the moment a single human stood against. The impossible. And for the first time, she believed. The beast could fall. The first clash the hall shook with the roar of the beast. His voice thundered like the sky before a storm. His eyes glowed red, filled with rage. He had been challenged before, but never like this. Never by a human. The alien girl's chains rattled. As she leaned forward, her breath quick and sharp. Her heart screamed for the human to run, but her soul whispered something else. "Don't fall. Please don't fall." The human stood ready. His fists were tight, his body bruised, but his eyes burned with unshaken fire. He was smaller than the beast, weaker in size, yet he did not bow. The beast charged. The ground trembled as heavy steps pounded the stone floor. The monster's claw cut through the air, aiming to split the human in two. The human moved. Fast, he rolled to the side, the claw smashing into the ground where he had stood. Stone shattered, dust flew into the air. Without hesitation, the human struck back, his fist slamming into the beast's ribs. The sound echoed, but it was like hitting a wall of iron. The beast laughed, turning his head slowly toward the human. "Is that all?" His tail whipped through the air like a spear. The human barely ducked as it cracked against the pillar behind him, shattering it into rubble. The crowd gasped, fear spreading through their whispers. Some turned away, unable to watch. Others stared wide-eyed at the madness before them. The alien girl's chest burned with every heartbeat. Her hands clenched against her chains until her skin bled. She wanted to scream, to warn him, to somehow help, but she was trapped. The beast struck again, faster this time. His claw swiped across the air, missing the human by inches. Another strike followed, then another. Each blow was heavy, deadly, enough to kill with a single hit, but the human moved like water. He slipped under claws, sidestepped crushing stomps, and ducked the beast's massive tail. Every time the monster missed, his rage grew. The human struck back when he could jabs to the ribs, a kick to the knee, an elbow to the jaw. Small hits, but sharp and clever. He was not fighting with brute force. He was fighting with skill, with speed, with will. The alien girl's lips trembled. She had never seen anyone stand against the beast this long. Still, blood dripped from the human's arm, a cut from a near miss. His chest rose and fell heavily, his breath rough. He was strong, but he was not unbreakable. The beast's roar shook the walls. Enough! He slammed both fists into the ground. The floor cracked, sending shockwaves through the hall. The human stumbled, his balance broken. In that split second, the beast's claw came down. The alien girl gasped, her heart stopping, but the human twisted just enough. The claw tore his shoulder open. Blood sprang across the stone, but it did not kill him. He staggered back, clutching his wound, yet his eyes still burned with fire. The beast's laughter rumbled deep. You bleed, you weaken. Soon you will fall like all the others. The human spat blood onto the floor, his voice steady. Not today. The alien girl's tears ran down her cheeks. She had never seen such defiance. Not from her people, not from anyone. Only this human. The beast lunged again, swinging wildly, his rage blinding him. The human ducked low, rolled under the monster's arm, and grabbed a broken spear from one of the fallen guards. With a roar of his own, he drove the weapon upward, stabbing it into the beast's side. The hall went silent for a breath. The beast howled, the sound shaking the very walls. Dark blood spilled across the floor, thick and steaming. The alien girl's heart leapt. He hurt him. He actually hurt him. But her joy was cut short. The beast's tail whipped violently, smashing against the human's chest. The impact sent him flying across the hall, crashing into the stone wall with a sickening thud. The crowd gasped. Dust and rubble fell around him. For a moment he did not move. The alien girl's breath broke. Her hands pulled desperately at her chains, skin tearing, blood dripping. Please, get up, she whispered. The beast panted heavily, clutching his bleeding side. His fury burned hotter than ever. He turned toward the broken body of the human and laughed cruelly. This is the strength of men? Pathetic. But then dash movement. The dust shifted. The human pushed himself up, one hand against the wall, the other clutching his chest. He staggered, blood dripping, his face pale but his eyes still burned. The alien girl's lips parted in disbelief. He rises again. The crowd erupted in whispers, some in fear, some in awe. The beast's smile faltered for the first time. He growled, his voice lower, uncertain. You should be dead. The human wiped blood from his mouth, his voice quiet but sharp. Humans don't die easy. The alien girl's tears fell harder, but now they were not only tears of fear. They were tears of something else, something dangerous, something powerful. Hope. The beast roared again, his anger boiling. The human raised the broken spear, his body trembling but unbowed. The fight was far from over, and as the alien girl watched, her chains still tight, she felt it deep inside her soul. This human was not only fighting for his life, he was fighting for hers. The monster's wrath, the beast's growl rumbled through the hall, deep and thunderous, like the earth itself was warning of death. His glowing eyes burned with fury, his muscles trembling with raw power. The alien girl's heart pounded as she watched. She had never seen him this angry, not even when punishing slaves. For years, he had seemed untouchable, unshakable, like a storm that could never be stopped. But now, blood dripped from his side. A human had done what no one else dared. The beast bared his fangs, his voice a promise of destruction. You bleed me, human. You shame me before my slaves. I will tear you apart until nothing remains. The human stood with the broken spear in hand. His chest rose and fell heavily, blood staining his torn shirt. His body shook with exhaustion, but his stance never bent. "You'll have to try harder," he said, his voice rough but steady. The beast roared and charged. This time he was faster. His movements blurred, his massive claws slicing through the air with terrifying speed. The floor cracked under his weight as he struck again and again, each blow stronger than the last. The human dodged, rolled, slipped past deadly claws, but the strikes came too fast. One claw grazed his side, ripping through flesh. Another slammed against his arm, bone cracking. The alien girl gasped, chains biting into her wrists as she struggled to break free. "Please, stop." But the beast did not stop. He was not fighting to win. He was fighting to destroy. The human staggered back, barely standing, his blood dripping across the stone. The beast laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "You thought you could defy me? You are nothing." He swung his tail like a whip. It struck the human's chest, throwing him across the hall. He crashed hard into a pillar, stone raining down. The chamber shook. Dust clouded the air. The alien girl's breath broke into sobs. Her voice cracked as she cried out, "No, please, get up." The beast turned to her, his fangs gleaming in the torchlight. "See, slave? This is your champion. Broken, weak, worthless. No one will ever free you." Her tears burned her cheeks. Her heart screamed at the cruelty. But even through the dust, even through the pain, she saw movement. The human's hand pressed against the stone. Slowly, painfully, he rose again. His body swayed, his breath heavy, but he stood. He spat blood and whispered, almost to himself, "I'm not done yet." The alien girl's lips trembled. She whispered his words back like a prayer. "He's not done yet." The beast's laughter faded. His fury returned. He crouched low, his claws glowing with fire, his body trembling with pure rage. For the first time, he unleashed his full strength. The air itself seemed to bend. Heat poured from his body, burning the stone beneath his feet. His roar shook the torches from the walls. This was no longer a fight, it was destruction itself. He struck again, faster than before. The human barely blocked with the broken spear, the force shattering the weapon into pieces. The impact threw him back. The beast lifted a claw high, glowing like molten steel, and slammed it down. The ground cracked wide, a fissure opening beneath the human's feet. He leapt just in time, rolling across the stone as the beast's strike shattered another pillar into dust. The crowd screamed, slaves scrambling to escape the falling rubble. The alien girl's chains rattled violently as the ground shook. She fell to her knees, tears pouring down, watching helplessly as the human fought against something no one believed could be defeated. The beast's tail whipped again, catching the human's leg. Pain exploded as bone cracked. He dropped to one knee, his face pale. The beast laughed, raising both claws high above his head. "This is the end." The alien girl screamed, her voice breaking through the chaos. "Don't give up, please. Don't leave me alone." The human's eyes met hers. For a moment, time stopped dead in her eyes. He saw her pain, her years of chains, her endless suffering. He saw the truth. If he fell, she would remain a slave forever. And in his eyes, she saw something she had never seen before, a promise. With a roar, the human rolled forward, dodging the crushing blow. Stone erupted where he had stood, but he was already moving. He picked up a fallen chain, wrapping it around his hand, and swung it like a whip. The metal struck the beast's face, leaving a bloody marked dot. The beast howled in rage. His claw came down again, but the human slipped to the side, wrapping the chain around the monster's arm. With a sharp pull, he locked it against the pillar. The beast roared, yanking against the chain, stone cracking. But for a moment, just a moment, he was trapped. The human used that moment. He leapt forward, slamming his fist into the beast's jaw, again and again. Blood flew. The hall shook with the sound of each strike. The alien girl's heart raced as she whispered through her tears, "Yes, fight. Don't stop." But the beast was not finished. With a roar of pure fury, he ripped the chain apart, shattering the pillar into dust. His free claw slashed across the human's chest, tearing deep. The human fell back, blood spraying, his body trembling, his strength nearly gone. The alien girl's scream tore through the hall. No, the beast towered above the fallen human, breathing heavy, his claws dripping with blood. He raised his arm high for the final strike. The chamber held its breath, but the human, broken and bleeding, lifted his head once more. His lips curved into a bloody smile. "You'll have to kill me to win." The alien girl's tears fell harder. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of the beast. She was afraid of losing the human. A turning point, the beast's. Claw hovered high above the human's chest, glowing with fire and rage. The ground shook under his weight, the air thick with heat and smoke. One strike, and the fight would be over. The human lay broken on the ground, blood dripping from his wounds, chest rising slowly with each painful breath. His body was near its limit. Yet his eyes still carried that same unyielding. Fire Dot, the alien girl, screamed, her chains biting deep into her skin as she pulled and pulled. Her wrists bled, her shoulders burned, but she didn't care. "Don't stop, don't die, please." The beast turned his head toward her, his grin cruel. "Quiet, slave. Watch as your savior dies." Her tears burned down her cheeks, but something inside her changed. For years, she had accepted chains, accepted silence, accepted fear. But watching the human fight for her ignited something. She thought she had lost long ago, but her voice broke through the chamber, sharp and strong. "He is not like you. He fights for more than himself. He fights for me." The beast's grin faltered for a moment. His eyes narrowed. "Pathetic. You are mine. You will always be mine." "No," she cried, shaking her head, her voice shaking, but growing stronger. "I belong to no one, not you." The crowd gasped. No slave had ever dared speak against the beast. Not once. The human's lips curved into a weak, bloody smile. He heard her voice, and it gave him strength. He forced his hand to move, gripping a shard of broken stone beside him. The beast roared in fury, raising his claw higher. "Then you will watch and die." The claw came down like thunder dot at the last second. The human rolled aside. The claw smashed the ground, shattering stone. Dust exploded. The human used the moment to drive the jagged stone upward, stabbing it deep into the beast's arm. The monster howled in pain, dark blood spilling across the floor. The alien girl's heart leapt. He had struck again. He was still fighting. The beast's tail whipped forward in rage, slamming into the human and sending him rolling across the hall. His body crashed against the base of her chains, blood splattering at her feet. The alien girl dropped to her knees beside him, pulling at her chains desperately, her tears falling onto his face. "Please, you can't give up. Not now. Not when I've finally seen hope." The human's eyes flickered open. His voice was weak, almost a whisper. "Then, fight with me." Her breath caught. Her whole body trembled. She had never fought. She had only survived. But in his eyes, she saw belief, not just in himself, but in her. The beast's roar shook the walls again. He stomped forward, his claws dripping with blood, his rage burning hotter than fire. "Both of you will die." The girl clenched her fists. Something inside her snapped. She would not be silent. She would not bow. Not anymore. She pulled at her chains with everything she had. Her skin tore. Her bones screamed. but her will was stronger than iron. With a final cry, one of the chains cracked and snapped. The crowd gasped that she was free. The beast froze for a second, shock flickering across his monstrous face. "You dare?" The girl's chest heaved as she stumbled forward, still bound by one chain, but free enough to move. Her eyes, once filled with fear, now burned with defiance. "I am not your slave." The human struggled to rise beside her, leaning against the broken wall. His body shook, but his smile returned, faint but fierce. "That's it. Stand with me." The beast roared and charged, fury in every step. The girl, still weak from years of chains, grabbed a fallen spear from the ground. Her hands trembled, but she raised it high as the beast struck. She swung with all her strength. The spear's tip scraped across his chest, cutting deep enough to draw blood. The beast staggered, more from shock than pain. The human pushed forward, seizing the moment. With a roar, he leapt and slammed his shoulder into the beast's jaw. The monster stumbled backward, crashing into a broken pillar. The hall shook. The girl's eyes widened in disbelief. She had struck him. She had hurt him. For the first time in her life, she was not powerless. The beast's roar returned, louder than before, shaking the torches from the walls. He rose, his fury now directed at both of them. "You will suffer for this." But the human stood beside. The girl, bloody and broken, but unbowed. She, too, raised her weapon, her breath heavy but steady. For the first time, they faced the beast together. The alien girl's voice rang out, strong and unshaken. "You will not break us." The human's lips curved into a fierce smile. "Let's end this." The crowd, silent until now, erupted in whispers, fear, and awe. Slaves watched with wide eyes, some clutching their broken chains, hope sparking in their hearts. The battle was no longer just man versus beast. It was freedom versus slavery. And for the first time in ages, the beast looked uncertain. The final stand. The hall was filled with smoke and fire. The ground split from the beast's fury. Cracks spread across the stone floor like veins of destruction. The slaves pressed against the walls, watching in silence. Their eyes wide. In the center stood two figures, bloodied, exhausted, but unbroken. A human with torn flesh and shaking hands. And beside him, an alien girl with one chain still clinging to her wrist. A broken spear gripped tight in her hands. Across from them towered the beast, his body glowing with raw power, his fangs dripping with hunger for blood. His roar shook the broken pillars. "You think together you can defeat me? I am master of this world. I am fear itself." The human spat blood, his voice rough but steady. "No, you're just another monster. And monsters fall." The alien girl raised her spear, her eyes blazing with defiance. "And you will fall today." The beast roared and charged. The ground trembled under his steps, claws slicing through the air. His massive body was unstoppable force, his rage a storm. The human ran forward to meet him, dodging the first claw that would have torn him in half. He rolled under the beast's arm, grabbing the chain still dangling from the girl's wrist, and together they pulled. The chain tightened across the beast's leg. He stumbled for the first time, crashing against the floor with a thunderous crack. The slaves gasped. The human leapt onto the beast's back, slamming his fists again and again into the monster's skull. The beast howled and thrashed, throwing him off. The alien girl charged next, her spear aimed at his chest. The beast swung his tail, but she ducked under it, sliding across the ground, driving the weapon deep into his side. The monster screamed, blood spraying across the hall. The crowd erupted shouts, cries, gasps. For the first time, the slaves saw the impossible, their master bleeding, staggering, Struggling the beast's eyes glowed hotter, brighter, as if fire itself poured through his veins. His roar shook the hall. "I will tear you both apart." He lunged again. His claw slashed across the human's chest, sending him crashing into a pillar. Stone cracked, blood gushed. The alien girl screamed his name, rushing to him. But the beast blocked her path, towering over the fallen human. The monster raised his claws high, ready to deliver the killing strike. The girl's eyes filled with fire. She looked down at the broken chain still on her wrist. With a sharp cry, she yanked at it with all her strength, smashing it against the stone. Sparks flew, metal bent, and with a final desperate pull, the chain shattered. She was free. A silence fell over the slaves. The beast turned, his grin cruel. "Free? You are still weak." But her voice did not tremble. "I may be weak, but together we are stronger than you." She grabbed a broken shard of spear and leapt. With a scream that carried years of pain and rage, she drove it into the beast's eye. The monster howled, his body thrashing wildly. His roar shook the hall like thunder. The human, broken and bloodied, used the moment. He rose slowly, each movement agony, and wrapped the fallen chain around the beast's throat. With a fierce cry, he pulled with all his strength. The girl joined him, gripping the other end. Side by side, they pulled tighter and tighter as the beast clawed at the chain, choking, roaring, stumbling. The ground cracked under his weight as he fell to one knee. His roars turned to desperate gurgles. His claws slashed wildly, but his strength was fading. The slaves began to chant softly, voices rising like a storm. "Fight! Fight!" The beast thrashed one last time, his glowing eyes dimming. And with a final pull, the chain snapped his throat. The hall went silent. The beast collapsed with a crash that shook the ground. His massive body twitched once, then stilled. The fire in his eyes faded into nothing. The human and the alien girl collapsed side by side, their breaths ragged, their bodies broken, but alive. For a moment, it was only silence. Then, slowly, the slaves began to cheer. Chains rattled as they lifted their hands, voices rising in triumph. "The beast is dead. Free, we are free." Tears filled the alien girl's eyes as she looked at the human. His face was pale, his body barely moving. But he smiled faintly, blood on his lips. "Told you. Monsters fall." Her tears fell onto his chest as she whispered, her voice trembling but filled with hope. "You saved me. You saved us all." The crowd surged forward, surrounding them, no longer slaves, but free people. Their chains shattered. The beast, their master, their nightmare, was gone. And it had taken a human and a girl, once enslaved, to bring him down. For the first time in years, the hall of chains was filled not with screams of pain, but with cries of freedom. And for the first time, the alien girl felt the weight of the sky. Above her limitless, open, hers to claim. The new dawn, the beast's body lay still on the cracked floor, his dark blood soaking into the stone. The fire that once burned in his eyes was gone forever. For a long moment, no one moved. The slaves stood frozen, afraid that somehow the monster might rise again. But the silence stretched on. The nightmare was over. Then, one by one, chains fell. To the ground, shackles were pulled free. Hands that once trembled in fear now reached high in the air. Voices rose together, first soft, then louder, until the great hall shook not with the beast's roar, but with the cries of victory. "Free! We are free!" The alien girl stood in the center, her chest heaving, her body weak, but her spirit burning brighter than ever. For the first time, the heavy chains were gone from her wrists. She touched the raw skin where they had cut deep into her flesh, and tears filled her eyes. She turned to the human. He lay on the broken stone, his chest rising weakly. His face was pale, but his eyes still held that same fire that had carried him through the battle. She dropped to her knees. Beside him, cradling his head gently. "You did it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You gave us back our lives." He managed a faint smile, his lips bloody. "No, we did it. You broke your chains." Her tears fell onto his face. "I would still be in the dark if you hadn't come. Why? Why risk everything for me, for us?" The human's eyes softened. "Because no one deserves to live as a slave. Not you, not anyone. Freedom is worth everything." His voice was weak, but his words carried through the hall. The slaves, silent now, heard them. They looked at him, the stranger from another world, and their eyes filled with respect, with gratitude, with hope. The girl pressed her forehead against his. "Then I will carry that freedom. For you, for all of us." The slaves gathered closer, forming a circle around them. Some raised broken chains into the air, others knelt in respect. They had no leaders, no voices before. But now they had hope. The girl rose to her feet, the broken spear still in her hand. She looked at the faces around her, faces that had once been empty, now shining with light. Her voice rang strong across the hall. "The beast is gone. His chains are broken. No one will ever own us again. We are free people now." The hall erupted in cheers, the sound like thunder rolling through the broken walls. For the first time in years, they shouted not in fear but in triumph. The human tried to sit up, but his body failed him. The girl rushed back to him, helping him lean against her shoulder. "You need rest," she whispered, holding him close. He chuckled weakly. "Rest sounds good, but I want to see it. The sky, the stars." Her heart clenched. For so long, she had only seen darkness, the stone walls of her prison. But now, with the beast gone, the path to the world above was open. With the help of others, she lifted the human carefully. Together, the freed slaves carried him out of the hall, through the broken gates that had once locked them inside. The night air rushed over them, cool and endless, and above, spread across the heavens, were stars, billions of them shining, brighter than she had ever imagined. The alien girl gasped, tears streaming down her face. "So beautiful." The human smiled faintly, his eyes fixed on the sky. "That's freedom. That's what you fought for." The slaves fell silent, gazing upward. For the first time in their lives, they saw the sky not as something forbidden, but as something that belonged to them. The girl held the human close, her voice soft but steady. "You came from the stars. You gave us hope when we had none. You gave me courage when I thought I was broken. I promise you this freedom will not be wasted." The human's hand tightened weakly around hers. "And my fight was worth it." His head rested against her shoulder, his breath shallow but calm. The slaves began to move, not as prisoners, but as people finding their first steps into a new world. They carried broken chains, not as burdens, but as reminders of what they had overcome. The girl stood at the front, the human in her arms, her eyes burning with new purpose. She had been a slave, silenced and forgotten. Now she was free, and she would lead her people into the dawn. The horizon glowed faintly with the first light of morning. The beast was dead. The chains were broken, and a new world was beginning.